there's one group of characters in the world of animation that almost everyone loves, it's the Minions. But do you really know all the shocking facts related to these small, yellow, funny-voiced beings? As we mentioned, the Minions, Gru's loyal servants with their humorous dialogues, are known worldwide, at least today. But have you ever wondered what it will be like in hundreds of years? Will the Minions still be celebrities? If the sci-fi movie Mortal Engines is to be believed, Kevin, Bob, and Stuart will become nothing less than gods in modern society. However, it's all a big misunderstanding. Since the movie takes place in the year 3118 AD, over 1,000 years from now, the people of the future, while excavating our current civilization, discovered various statues and artworks resembling the Minions, leading them to conclude that the small yellow beings were, in fact, the gods worshipped by the population of the 2020s onward. Of course, even though we love these characters, that might be a bit of a stretch, but I have to admit, I'm a big fan of the Minions. If you are too, you need to see all 12 shocking facts about Gru's little helpers on our list. So, jump on this wave, because another Cinewave is starting now. You might not know this, but the Minions have 6 different types of heads and hairstyles, which help us tell them apart. After all, let's face it, they all look very similar. But the fact is, when we analyze these hairstyles, we come to the conclusion that unfortunately, these yellow beings suffer from one of the things that terrify men the most: baldness. Let me explain. One type of Minion hairstyle is the comb-over, and the best representative of this style is definitely Stuart. Besides this style, there's also the sprout hairstyle, which is Kevin's look, where the hair strands resemble a little plant that's just sprouting. There's also the spiky hairstyle, which is exactly Otto's case, and the short hairstyle, which applies to several different Minions, such as Jerry, Stuart's best friend. All these are Minions who have hair, little or much, on the top of their heads. However, the other 2 groups of Minions do not. This is the case, for example, of Bob, who, despite being the most childlike of the yellow beings, doesn't have a single hair on his head, indicating that he's completely bald. But even worse is Mel. This Minion only has hair on the sides, indicating that he once had hair on top like Jerry, but at some point, it all fell out, leaving just the side hair. Well, folks, living for thousands of years makes anyone's hair fall out. Poor Mel. The creators of the Minions confirmed that there are exactly 899 of these yellow beings. What many people don't know is that every Minion you've ever heard say something has been voiced by the same person, the Frenchman Pierre Coffin. Pierre was the director of the first Despicable Me movie and has been involved in all the franchise's films since then. Of course, some audio effects are used in the voice work, but it certainly takes a lot of creativity to use Minionese, the Minions' language, in the right way. Despite being cute and funny, the truth is that these small yellow beings weren't blessed with much intelligence by nature, although they are very loyal and hardworking. This can be proven in several moments of the franchise. For example, in the first time we see them, one of Gru's servants accidentally hits another one on the head with a giant hammer. Additionally, we see that they ended up building the pyramids of Egypt upside down, which was obviously very wrong. In another instance, the group of yellow beings accidentally drops Knuckles' coffin, and one of the group members comes out eating a banana, which suggests that if they hadn't tripped, the Minion inside would have been buried along with the coffin and the bananas. Despite all this, I really like them. And if you also really enjoy these little yellow beings, comment below #Minions so we can know who the real fans are. While we may love these little creatures, it's pretty clear that several characters do not, especially those who ended up dead because of the Minions' actions. For instance, they accidentally turned their former boss, Count Dracula, into dust by opening the window curtains, simply forgetting that vampires evaporate when exposed to sunlight. Another example involves a caveman who, when confronted by a bear, had a club in hand to defend himself. However, the Minions suggested he use a sort of prehistoric fly swatter instead, which resulted in him being promptly devoured by the bear. The same thing happened with the Tyrannosaurus, who fell into a volcano thanks to them, and the Pharaoh, who was crushed along with his subjects by the pyramid. Not to mention, they literally blew up Napoleon, the very same one from the history books. Honestly, I don't think I'd want the Minions as my employees. It would be way too dangerous. Even though their bosses die frequently, usually because of the Minions themselves, these little yellow beings don't seem to have the same problem. They first appeared millions of years ago alongside the earliest microorganisms on Earth and are still here today. Additionally, in the first movie, we see one of the Minions who drank Dr. Nefario's anti-gravity potion floating peacefully in orbit, showing that they don't need oxygen to survive. And when Scarlett's husband tried to torture the 3 Minions in the first movie, we saw that he didn't even come close to hurting them, since their bodies seemed to stretch effortlessly. So, if there's ever a catastrophe, it's safe to say that only the Minions and cockroaches would survive on this planet. But if you think about it, the fact that a minion can survive in space suggests they don't have lungs, showing that their physiology is completely different from that of humans. Additionally, we can also deduce that they don't have noses or a sense of smell, given that they don't need to breathe. The biggest proof of this is in the second Minions movie. When Gru launches a stink bomb in the theater, we see that only the villain himself, wearing an air mask, and the minions, completely unprotected, stayed in the room to watch the movie. This makes it clear that they really have zero or almost no sense of smell. Despite being incredibly cute and fun, we shouldn't be fooled. The minions have one main purpose in life: to follow the most evil being they can find. And that's actually how they ended up in the US and found Gru, after witnessing the boy's complete lack of scruples as he froze and stole the Queen of England's crown right in front of everyone without the slightest hesitation. Additionally, after Gru decides to give up being a supervillain for the sake of his family, the minions rebel and abandon their boss. And to prove that they're truly evil, when they arrive in prison, they quickly become the most feared group, taking control over all the other inmates, clearly showing that when it comes to being bad, it's hard to beat the minions when they want to be. But even though the minions can be evil at times, I'm sure if they existed, they would already be subscribed to our channel. So go ahead and click that subscribe button right now! In addition to being evil, we can also see that these characters don't have much empathy for each other. We've seen several scenes where the minions don't really care when something bad happens to one of their own. For instance, when one of the yellow beings is abducted, his fellow minion doesn't seem to care at all. Or when one of the minions turns into a purple monster, his coworker just laughs a lot, not bothering to call anyone for help to change him back. Perhaps knowing that they're immune to almost everything and practically immortal makes them less concerned about what happens to one another. In one of the Minion shorts, where we see 3 of them going camping, some pretty bizarre things happen there. But none of them surpasses the moment when Gru's servants consume hallucinogenic fruits and start seeing the world in a completely weird and even more colorful way. This is proof that these little beings really are capable of eating anything and staying alive. Even though you and I are fun and awesome, we're not minions, so never ever do this in your life. Most people have no idea, but there's a connection between the Minions and one of the greatest fantasy franchises in history, The Lord of the Rings. That's because in the distant past, when the creators of Despicable Me were developing the characters, some of them had the brilliant idea to draw inspiration from orcs, the most terrifying creatures from the Hobbit saga. But since it's a children's animation, the idea didn't go very far, and they decided to draw inspiration from characters from another franchise instead, this time science fiction. After the orcs idea didn't work out, the animators decided that the Jawas, small warrior creatures from Star Wars, would be the perfect inspiration for the Minions. From these characters in the space adventure saga, they took the short stature and the great ability to perform heavy tasks. They also borrowed the funny way of speaking with distinctive voices. Of course, the Minions needed to be adapted for modern times, so they were given their yellow color, along with work overalls that suited them perfectly, making the Minions truly unique. Without a doubt, these little yellow beings are hilarious and make us laugh a lot, and learning these shocking facts about them was a lot of fun. And if you had as much fun as we did, I've got great news. There's more where that came from. We've selected 2 amazing videos for you to check out right now. They're showing up on your screen. Just pick one, click, and enjoy.